What has made Aaron Nesmith so good for the Indiana Pacers since the All-Star break, and why could that matter in the postseason? Plus, some small notes that are important on Johnny Furphy, the Mad Ants, and the Pacers draft picks before standings watch. It's all coming today on the Locked On Pacers podcast.
You are Locked On Pacers, your daily Indiana Pacers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What up, y'all? Happy Monday. Hope you had a great weekend, and welcome into another edition of the Locked On Pacers podcast, where we, of course, talk about the Indiana Pacers. As always, my name's Tony East. I cover the team for Forbes, and today, much to discuss on the wing with Aaron Nesmith and a little bit of Johnny Furphy stuff that I think is important to talk about after he played okay in OKC. Some draft pick stuff to iron out for the Pacers. Their clarity for their upcoming draft is now almost done. The Mad Ants made the playoffs, why that matters for the Pacers. And, of course, it's Monday, as we've done basically for this is the fourth week in a row, standings watch, where the Pacers sit. They had an awesome Sunday in their chase for home court advantage, or whatever seed you say they could want. We'll get into all that today. We will start with one Aaron Nesmith. I think I've said 3 or 4 times on this podcast I want to do a segment on Aaron Nesmith, and I'm finally going to do it today because that dude has been hooping since the All-Star break. In a lot of ways, like if you just watch the Pacers or watch Aaron Nesmith, you can see it. You know he looks better. I don't have to explain this to you. It's pretty easy, but I'm going to go into more detail into why and why I think it matters so much to me that this is happening, right? So there's some important groundwork to lay here, and that's that Aaron Nesmith's having quite a good season in general right now. I will apparently somehow this hasn't gone mainstream in any way. He is currently having a 50-40-90 season. 50.8% from the field, 43.8% from deep, 91.1% from the foul line. That doesn't count as 50-40-90 because he doesn't have enough minutes or games to qualify for the statistical efficiency leaderboards. And I don't remember what it actually takes, but I think he's only going to finish at like 45 games. So I don't think he's going to actually qualify for those leaderboards, but that is already the standard he has set this season. Like he's at that level of efficiency across the board. It feels like he makes every clutch free throw he's taken so far this year. The three's been falling. That's all great. He's been 40% or better from deep for a couple years now. Like that's what Aaron Nesmith has grown into for the Pacers. Okay. But he's been better recently, right? Since All-Star, averaging, I hate the new basketball reference little cutoff thing, averaging well over his season average in points per game. If I'd clicked the right date, I could actually tell you the right stat. That looks confusing to me. 14.8 points per game, almost 15 points per game score. Aaron Nesmith, no one thinks of him as that level of a scorer, but he has been. He's a career 8.8 points per game guy. He's been at just over 11 in his 3 seasons with the Pacers, right? On a tear there already. Now, he's already a very impactful player. His full season on-off for the Pacers in net rating is plus 11.23. Now, I think he's played well and earned part of that. That's some of that is life of being a starter on a team that's had a good starting 5 and not good bench this year, and that will come up later. Since the All-Star break, though, let's talk about that. The Pacers just raw, no net rating, plus 149 with Aaron Nesmith on the floor, 127.2 offensive rating with Aaron Nesmith on the floor. Some of that's Nesmith himself making shots. Some of that's the space he provides. Some of that is excellent shooting from the entire Pacers team to the tune of 42% from 3 since the break. That's not going to hold, but he has been shooting great, and that benefits everyone else. He's doing a lot more great than that. We'll get to that in a second. Their defensive rating in that spin with Aaron Nesmith on the floor is 113.8. So his individual, or the team's net rating, I guess, individual net rating is not a real thing. The team's net rating with him on the floor since the All-Star break is plus 13.6. With them off the floor, their defense is about the same, 113.3. Their offense is 109.2. 32% of threes go in. That's a factor as well. Small samples on both those numbers, right? No one thinks of Aaron Nesmith as this huge offensive swing guy because he's a better defender than offensive player, but he has been when he shoots at the level he does, right? He does have a strong impact on the Pacers offense, both because he makes shots and because of the spacing element, allows everyone else to make shots, and he makes those quick decisions, just keeps things humming. Since the All-Star break, if you want to do the math, the Pacers have been nearly 18 points per 100 possessions better with Aaron Nesmith on the court than off. That's like comically good, right? And that is such a wide gap that it's so obvious you can just see it game to game. And again, I know that part of that's that their bench has not been good, but part of that is Aaron Nesmith has been very good. Like there have been games where they can't take him off the floor. They just get killed, like in Milwaukee, and they actually lost that game. But he was so good that night. He's had a bunch of those outings since the break where he is so effective. Obviously, he had the 30-point game that night, but his defense was good in that game. His previous career high before that was set since this break. When they beat the Bulls, he had 21. In Atlanta, he had 18 against Dallas. He had 17 against Minnesota. He had 19 against the Clippers, 17 against the Nuggets. Like this is not what you think of with Aaron Nesmith, but it's happening. So obviously the team impact is there. It's been there the whole time, but it's even stronger now. And it's so strong that it's noticeable. But why is he actually better? Right? Because a lot of those numbers are, one, obvious things that you can just see watching him play, and two, are relevant because he plays with the starters. Why does it feel like he's been so much better? The thing I keep saying, and I'm now going to articulate with actual statistics, is his non-3-point scoring. I don't even mean that to say his 3-point scoring has been bad. It's actually been very good. Since the All-Star break, he's making 46.9% of his threes. These are just crazy numbers. His 2-point percentage is way better, and he's 25 for 27 from the foul line in that stretch. But his 2-point percentage has really launched, right? For a guy making 50, 40, 90 to have improved efficiency on any sort of stretch is remarkable. Pre-All-Star break, and I get that part of this, he was hurt and playing different role, different minutes, Aaron Nesmith was 30 for 54 on his 2-point shots. 54 of his 101 shots were twos. So a little over half. And that's 55.5% of his twos going in at that ratio. Since the All-Star break, 93 of his 206 shots have been twos. 60% of them are going in. So I think both of these things are valuable. One is that 5% of Aaron Nesmith's twos going in more is very noticeable when he's taking them at higher volumes. Not higher volumes in terms of the percentage of his shots. It's actually lower of a percentage of his shots, which I think is a good thing. At the 3-point volume he's making, over half of his shot attempts should be threes. So that is one thing that has made him look more effective is, as a guy having a good shooting season, he has translated more of his shot attempts to threes. However, I think that actually has helped his 2-point percentage. We can watch Aaron Nesmith and I'll see this. He has gotten so good at getting to a spot to score when run off the line, whether that's a floater, whether it's at the rim, and he's not turning it over as much this season. He keeps it moving to the next teammate when nothing is there, when he's run off the line. 9.1% turnover rate, his second straight season below 10. That's excellent. On his highest usage yet with the Pacers. And his second best assist percentage with the Pacers. And his best rebound rate with the Pacers. The stuff he's doing when pressured is better. And you can just see it with the floater and you can see it with the ratio. So the finishing improvement, that is where I think he's been the most noticeably different as a player since the All-Star break, and why he's having a career high 65% true shooting, despite his 3-point attempt rate being the lowest it's ever been as a member of the Pacers. Now, I actually think his 3-point attempt rate should go up a little bit, but he is making so many twos at a high percentage to the point that it's like a reliable shot. And I think that matters a ton for the Pacers, one, because it's helping them win games right now, and they have this actual scoring 1-2 punch with Mathurin and Nesmith. That's not like a joke. And Nesmith's foul rate is down, by the way. The biggest thing for him to improve this season. He's just playing well, running guys off the line. Last year, a big problem might be the wrong word. An issue for Aaron Nesmith in the playoffs was this exact thing, efficiency, right? He did not shoot like at all in his early playoff days with the Celtics. 8.3 shots a game last year with the Pacers. He made his twos, but wasn't making his threes, and he took way more threes than twos. The shot profile was there. The shot making wasn't there, albeit the twos were good, especially that game 7 in New York, but outside of that, not so much. If he can, one, shoot better from 3 and translate that into equally or more effective play from 2, that is going to be huge in the playoffs. Last year, he had half of that. This year, he's improved at the thing he was already good at. If the threes come for him in the postseason, it's going to be huge, right? Like they adjusted to put him on Brunson. He played great in game 7 in the Garden. He still had an important role in the playoffs, but he could not buy a 3. His true shooting percentage in the playoffs last year was 56%. Or excuse me, I'm reading. Oh, that was actually right. 56%, right? That's like 10% below what he's shown this season. If he can keep this level of inside the arc efficiency up, that gives him a role to play in the postseason, even if the 3 isn't falling. And obviously at his level of defense, he would play anyway. But it's just so important that he's added this to his bag because the way he's defended is going to change in the postseason if he's a potential 15 points a game scorer, just like within the flow of the offense. I think this has been really big for him and the Pacers. Some of the per game number growth from him from start to now of the season is he's playing more because he's healthy. I think some of his improvement just generally is that he's healthy, right? Maybe this is what he would have been early in the season if he didn't get hurt in the 6th or 7th game or whatever it was. But there is something to the game slowed down for him last year, 2 years ago, and again this year. Like, it just keeps being easier for him to do what the Pacers want. It's been really valuable, and it's so noticeable how much better they've been with him on the floor, which is not even a shot at anyone else. It's just that their bench groups or mix and match groups haven't been as good. And so lineups with certain combos or certain guys are very clear when they're doing well or doing terrible. And Aaron Nesmith lineups have been doing extremely well. Speaking of doing extremely well, Johnny Furphy's gotten in the game a few times recently, and I've noticed some stuff. We got to talk some Furphy, some Pacers draft picks. We know where they're headed now, most likely. The Mad Ants are playoff bound. That actually matters for the Pacers. Plus, standings watch is coming. So much more coming here today on Locked On Pacers. Before we get into any of that, we need to talk about the good people over at Game Time. There's nothing like watching basketball live. The energy of the crowd, the sound of the sneakers on the hardwood, and maybe even a celebrity side and courtside. If you want to catch a game in person, Game Time makes getting tickets easier than ever. Game Time's new feature, Game Time Picks, filters out the fluff and shows you only the best deals on great seats. You don't have to waste time scrolling through thousands of tickets. If you do, though, you'll be thrilled that you did, because checking out the Game Time app, you'll find amazing deals on huge matchups coming up. They even highlight super deals for you, so you get the best bang for your buck with seat views before you buy. No surprise fees and our lowest price guarantee. You can book with total confidence on Game Time. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code LOCKDOWNNBA for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. Back here on Locked On Pacers. Thanks for making us your first listen today and every single day. Make your second listen Locked On any team around the Pacers in the standings, or today, right now, I'll say Locked On Kings, the Pacers' opponent tonight, not playing well, clinging to play in life in the Western Conference. Sabonis in town tonight for the Kings. Matt George had a very funny intro to his most recent podcast. Check out Locked On Kings. Also, I just realized my ceiling fan's on. I'm not going to get it to stop at mid-recording, so I apologize if you can hear it or it is distracting. I hope it's not. I always remember to turn it off, and today I did not. It's March for everybody. Okay. Johnny Furphy, glass eater. Why is this a thing? Why is this a thing I want to talk about? Because, one, we haven't talked about Furphy much this season. He barely plays, which is fine given the Pacers season. But I wanted to just kind of scatter in a few things I feel like you need to know or stuff I've observed. And Johnny Furphy is a thing that has been noticeable of late. 2 boards against OKC, 2 boards against the Wizards, 8 against the Bulls earlier this month. Feels like every time he hits the floor, I'm like, man, that guy can really rebound. And I've watched him in the G League, and finally I saw a good Furphy game. On what was their last home regular season game. He had 29, I believe, scoring-wise. Felt like every good G League game he had, I missed, and every time he didn't play well in the G League, I was there. I finally saw a good game from him, but between what I've seen in person and what you're seeing in these NBA appearances, I think the thing that stands out to me about Johnny Furphy so far is he just has like this snarl and nose for the ball that like doesn't match his build, right? He plays very physical for a guy who doesn't look physical. Like we've heard many players and coaches on the Pacers call him someone who looks like he's 14, but then he gets in there and he mixes it up and he fights and he bangs on the glass, and it's very impressive, and it keeps being a thing. I think it's been his best skill this season, which he hasn't shown a ton. Like he's shooting 37.5% this year and has barely above water assist to turnover. Like it's not like this, he's been awesome, but the rebounding's been really good. In fact, his offensive rebound rate is 7.1%. Now, this guy's played barely 300 minutes this year, right? There's a little bit of small sample going on here. Of Pacers players who have played in at least 10 games, that's second on the team. That's a little misleading because Tony Bradley, Isaiah Jackson, and Moses Brown all just fall shy of that 10-game mark. Those guys all have a better offensive rebound rate. That makes sense. They're centers. Of the non-centers on the team, he has the highest offensive rebound rate. It's above Turner's. It's above Siakam's. It's above Freeman's. It's above Mathurin's. It's above Toppin's. It's like significantly above some of those guys. I'd expect it falls somewhat. Like 7.1 is a pretty healthy mark. Centers are going to get more offensive rebounds. That all makes sense. But he's a good rebounder. Like on the Pacers, it stands out a good amount. On the defensive end, he's been okay. 13.1% defensive rebound percentage is totally solid. That's above point guards. That's right in there with the Pacers wings for a solid top 10 on the Pacers total rebound rate this year. He is a good rebounder, and offensive rebounds specifically piqued my interest to the point of thinking, I wonder what this guy can be. He's just got enough power for his current size that if he grows into his body, matures, his game gets better. My camera's blurry for some reason, and improves. Maybe there's a role for him there. And on a Pacers team that is just desperate for rebounding, it really stands out. So I think that's been a good thing for Furphy, and I'll be curious where that leads him, because that has been by far, to me, his most noticeable skill so far. And I was like, I wonder where that ranks on the Pacers. Oh, very high, second among guys who've played 10 games. Like that's just wild to say out loud. Two more things you need to know that are going to impact the Pacers season or off season in some cases. One, the draft. It's pretty much settled. This was almost a thing I had to do like an emergency segment on, for lack of a better term. So the Pacers have their own first. Great. That might be a top 20 pick. We'll see. And their own second. Great. That's going to be like the 50th pick. Who cares? It might matter. Who cares is a stretch. Whatever. However, they had two incoming second rounders from other teams that were worth tracking this year. One was a joke. They got the Charlotte Hornets second rounder this year, top 55 protected in a trade last year with the Warriors at the deadline. They're never going to get that. That pick was never going to be a bottom 5 pick in the second round. The Hornets have been eliminated from having a top 5 record for like a month and a half. Probably they're not getting that. They're not getting Charlotte second rounder. Charlotte's getting Charlotte second rounder. Shocker. However, they had this other second rounder that was really funny. So they got this pick originally when they acquired TJ Warren in a trade. And people remember that trade as a Suns Pacers trade, but it actually got folded into a 3-team trade. And the Pacers got the Heat's second rounder for 2025 at the time. Okay, whatever. The Heat are usually pretty good. We'll see what that ends up being. Well, then the Pacers, a couple years later, they need to cut some salary. The cap didn't go up very much because of coronavirus, and Edmund Sumner tore his Achilles. That's dead money. They need to get off that money so they can sign another player. So they traded Edmund Sumner to the Nets to make the Nets take that money. They traded that Heat pick to Brooklyn. However, they protected it 31 through 37, meaning if the pick was 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, or 37, the Pacers would get it. Otherwise, the Nets would get it. The Nets traded it to Golden State this year in the Dennis Schroeder trade. That's not relevant to the Pacers, but that meant the Pacers could have gotten the Heat's pick if the Heat had a bottom 7 record in the league. For much of the season, the Heat have been flirting with like 500. Could they make the playoffs? Maybe they'll make the plan. Then they traded Jimmy Butler, and they were like, okay, for a second, I actually like that trade for them. And then they lost 10 games in a row. And so there was a moment, albeit a very fleeting maybe day or two, where I thought, wow, this might be possible. They only have 2 or 3 more wins than the Raptors. The Raptors have won 4 games in a row right now. The Raptors' schedule is a joke. Is it actually possible that the Raptors could catch the Heat and that pick could be 37 and go to the Pacers? Well, now the Raptors have won so many games in a row. First of all, they're going to tank to stay below the Spurs. The Spurs have tanked. Portland has given up, and the Heat have won 4 in a row. So had the Heat not won 4 in a row, they would currently be 1 win ahead of 7th. They really recovered from their 10-game losing streak. But there was a brief moment where I thought, wow, I might have to do a segment on this. The Pacers might be really rooting against the Heat. Now they're not. They're not going to get that pick. It's impossible. The Heat have 33 wins right now. There is no way the Raptors get to 33 wins. Even if they do, there's no way the Spurs get to 33 wins. I don't think they'll win 2 more the rest of the way. So that's over. I missed the moment to make this a big deal, but I thought it was hilarious that it even was possible for a second. Shout out to that Heat dreadful run, but I actually hope they make the playoffs this year. Okay, the last thing, the Mad Ants made the playoffs. It looked like it was slipping away from them for a second there, but they got it done with 2 wins in Grand Rapids over the weekend, and everything broke perfect for them in terms of results elsewhere. They're going to play a home game on Tuesday. Your last chance, if you have a midday availability Tuesday, to see the Mad Ants in Cambridge Fieldhouse. They host the Greensboro Swarm. They made the playoffs. That's the end of the Mad Ants part of this. The Pacers aspect of this is, one, they have a lot of home games this week themselves. They play Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at home. So they will overlap in facility timing with the Mad Ants, which is the most convenient chance to give assignments to their 2A guys or Johnny Furphy. So this is a blessing in that qualifying for the playoffs and having results break the right way means they could get Johnny Furphy 1 more G League game. I think they should. if health permits, albeit with Bennedict Mathurin's current calf thing. Who knows what they do? The other reason this matters is their two-way contract players are getting close to time where, maybe they'll be active the rest of the way. Maybe they won't. Who knows? But the point of tracking all that is right now, Quentin Jackson, the Pacers play 8 more games. He can only be active for 4 of them, not playing 4 of them, be active, period. Right. So if they don't play him Monday or Wednesday and they leave him inactive so they could play Quentin Jackson in the G League playoffs, that would increase their chances of winning. Maybe that'd be good for their G League players. Maybe that'd be good for Furphy to play with him down there, right? And if they win, then they'll play another G League game. Maybe they send Quentin Jackson up there because the Pacers schedule is pretty easy this week. Enrique Freeman can play in every Pacers game the rest of the way. I'd still imagine they'll play him in the G League playoffs. Ray J. Dennis, I think, is 1 game away from being able to play in every Pacers game the rest of the way. So it might be pretty easy for those two to just not be active on Monday and then run it on Tuesday. Quentin Jackson specifically, though, the Pacers making the playoffs, the Bandits making the playoffs, actually could matter for his availability for certain games the rest of the way. We'll see how the Pacers strategize that. I haven't thought through that enough to know if there's a best or worst way to do it. It might just be keep him active if Bennedict Mathurin's going to continue to miss time. We'll see how that goes. But the Furphy part of it being the most important, the Bandits did earn one more chance for that pesky little rebounder to get another chance. Let's talk about the standings. What a Sunday it was for the Pacers as their pursuit of hosting a series continues to come into focus. Standings watch coming up here on Locked On Pacers. We're back here on Locked On Pacers. Thanks for making us your first listen today and every single day. Your second listen should be Locked On Knicks, Locked On Bucks, or Locked On Pistons. All the teams we'll be talking about today. The Pacers' range of seeds is almost done. I said this stuff last week. The Celtics have gotten too many wins. The Pacers can only get as high as 3. They can no longer fall below 8, and they're 1 win away from that being 7, and they're 2 wins away from clinching their playoff spot, or 1 win and 1 Hawks loss, however you want to describe it. Their playoff magic numbers, too. Next time we do standings watch, they'll have clinched a playoff spot. But their range of outcomes technically right now is 3 to 8. 3 to 6 is still the range that matters. So last week, the Celtics got it over with. Don't have to mention them anymore. The Bulls, Heat, don't have to mention them anymore. We're probably not going to have to mention the Hawks or Magic anymore. In fact, those teams play each other. So one of those teams will lose, which means the Pacers technically are already 1 win away from top 7. So a lot happened this week. It's been a really interesting week for the Pacers in standings watch. The Bucks lost every game they played since the last standings watch. They went 0-4. The Pacers only went 500. That's fine. The Pistons also only got 2 wins this week. The Knicks, however, really recovered after 2 rough losses without Brunson to the Spurs and the Hornets. They found a way. They got some nice wins at home over the Mavs. They beat the Bucks, which I think the Pacers actually preferred that result. And they beat the Blazers, who now are a joke, but like for a second weren't. So the Knicks had a good week. The Pistons and Pacers had an okay week results-wise, and the Bucks had a bad week. Where does that leave things now? It's getting very close, especially because the Pacers don't have the tiebreaker with the Knicks, for the Pacers not being able to get 3. It's still obviously very possible. Like the magic number for the Knicks to knock the Pacers off of 3 is still 4. That's pretty significant with 8 games to go. But the fact that they're doing this and Brunson's going to come back soon, the Knicks have done all they can to me to pretty much lock up 3. And they might get rewarded for it, pending what happens with the Bucks. We'll talk about them in a second. But this stretch of play where they've won 3 out of 4 and 6 out of 10, I think from the Knicks, even without their star player, has probably gotten them close to feeling like they locked up 3. I feel like they've pretty much locked up 3. Their schedule is not that hard the rest of the way. It's pretty challenging, actually. I just lied to you. But this week was a good result, good enough results for the Knicks that getting 3 might be out of the realm of possibility for the Pacers, which now actually is a little different conversation. I did that discussion with Gavin Shaw last week, and then since then, Damian Lillard's been announced as out for maybe the season, just a long time for sure with his current calf blood clotting issue, and the Bucks are not playing well. They've lost 4 in a row, right? So, tough. For the Pacers if they wanted to get to 3 to potentially play the Bucks, that the Knicks are doing well enough to keep them away. 4 games behind the Knicks right now, and the Knicks have the tiebreaker, right? Both of those teams have exactly 8 games to go right now. So if the Knicks go 4-4, they get it. If they go 3 wins or fewer, the Pacers have a shot the rest of the way, but 4-4 for the Knicks is extremely doable. And then the Pacers have to go like undefeated or 7-1 or whatever. So that's getting close to being decided, but not quite. As for this Pistons Bucks conglomerate. It's been really interesting. Like Brunson and Cade and Lillard are all hurt. Cade's missed some time with calf issue. Same with Lillard, ankle for Brunson. So the Pacers had a health advantage. The Bucks have not done well with the injuries. The Pistons have. They beat the Cavs without Cade and Tobias Harris. They beat the Wolves once without Cade and then lost to the Wolves on Sunday in a crazy game, ejections, fights that really amped up the Wolves. Pacers win over the Wolves, wins plural. Look very good, by the way. The Wolves had an excellent March. So the Pistons, if Cade can't go for a while, this is where the remaining strength of schedule part gets interesting. The Bucks just got through what I would consider the hard part of the rest of their schedule. The Pistons still have it. They have the fourth hardest schedule in the league left just by percentage. They play the Thunder, the Knicks, and the Grizzlies still, and they have easy games. Their easiest two opponents are Toronto and Sacramento. And Toronto's probably not one to win that game, but Sacramento does. They're trying to get a playing spot. New York has the fifth hardest schedule left. Cavs twice, Celtics, and they play Detroit again. So that's where I want to finish this up. Right now, the Pacers are firmly in fourth. They're a game and a half ahead of the Pistons and 3 games ahead of the Bucks, 4 games behind the Knicks. Here's why I think the Pacers are very close to, not technically, but in practice, securing their spot in the 4-5. Because one, I already mentioned, I think the Knicks have done enough to lock themselves basically into 3. It's going to be hard for the Pacers to catch them, even though now there's more benefits to doing so given the Bucks reality. Here's why I think it's going to be fascinating, though. The Knicks play the Pistons one more time. Someone will lose that game. Maybe the Pistons win, and what I'm about to talk about is moot. The other factor is the Pistons and Bucks. This is going to be a big topic because it's going to be really hard to calculate the Pacers scenarios unless they create some distance here. The Pistons and Bucks play each other 2 more times, and it's the last 2 games of the season for both teams. So you can't even really do the 3-way tiebreaker stuff with the Pacers, Pistons, and Bucks yet. I think the Pistons have to win both for the Pacers to win the 3-way tiebreaker of those last 2 games. Otherwise, the Bucks will get it. Regardless of the 3-way stuff, that's not important here. What is important is because those 2 teams play each other, there's going to be 2 losses added to a team behind the Pacers, whether it's split between both of those teams or one team gets both, right? Either the Pistons lose both, and technically that would mean the Pacers have a 2.5 game lead over 5 right now, or the Bucks lose both, and that would mean the Pacers have a 4 game lead over the Bucks right now, or they split them, and the Pacers then have a 2 game lead on Detroit and a 4.5 game lead on Milwaukee. You get the picture of me saying that out loud. Those are technically, one of those 3 things I just said is guaranteed to be technically true because one team has to lose those games, right? So that, to me, gives the Pacers some cushion to know that if they play well against their moderate schedule the rest of the way, they have some easy games. They play Utah still. They play Charlotte still. They play the Wizards still. The Pacers should at least get 4 more wins in their last 8 games, maybe more. They play the Cavs 2 more times. I've already mentioned this. There's a chance that the Cavs, so the Celtics' peak wins this season is 63. The Cavs currently have 60. There's a chance the Cavs have already locked up the top seed in the East by those games. However, they could be fighting for the top seed in the league with OKC still. We'll see. However, it will be fascinating to see what kind of Cavs effort is required in those late season games. So the Pacers' strength of schedule, if you just go off of their opponents, isn't really fair. The Knicks also play the Cavs 2 more times. They could be dealing with a similar situation in one of those games. Probably not both. One of them is too early for that. So I bring all this up to say, I think the quirks in the Pacers' schedule, timing-wise, they only have one truly, really challenging game left. They just fly out to Denver randomly for 1 game. That's really weird. They only have one truly super challenging game left, pending how hard the Cavs are trying. The Bucks are stumbling and have injuries. The Knicks have injuries. The Pistons have a key injury, and the Pistons and Bucks play each other twice. I can't call it yet. Obviously not. There's a lot that could still happen with 2 weeks to go in the season, but it's looking, the Pacers' chances of getting 4 and 5 went way up this week, way up between the Bucks results, between those games coming, between the injuries and everything. Basketball Reference does a seeding tracker. I should have just pulled this up before talking, but the Pacers' chances of being 4 were even pretty high. But as in the middle of last week. Yeah, their playoff probability reports, what it's called, if you want to check it out. As of now, Basketball Reference has the Pacers' chance at the 4 seed at 73.4% and their chance at 5 at 19.9%. That means Basketball Reference says their chance of being either 4 or 5 is like 93%, which is basically what I just said. Then I'm close to calling that basically their expected range of outcomes. There's obviously some scenarios where that could flip, but I think that is a totally reasonable way to put it, with a small chance they get 3 and this would stink for the Pacers, I think, chance they fall to 6. That is Standings Watch for this week. Next week, we'll look at the draft a little bit more because it'll be more in focus. Next week's going to be the last Standings Watch. Can you believe that? Because the following Sunday is the last Sunday of the regular season. So one more to go after that Denver game. We'll see where things stand. The Pacers 3 winnable home games and 1 dreadful road game this week. If they get 3 wins this week, they'll feel great. If they get 2, they'll feel okay. Their schedule is 6 at home the rest of the way with 3 or 4 cupcake opponents. They need to clean it up. And we'll have it all here on the Locked On Pacers podcast. Hope you guys enjoyed this one or learned something. A lot of just me babbling information that I think you need to know and why it matters. Tomorrow, talking Pacers Kings, obviously. Kings are going to be ready to go. They got smoked by Orlando. They're going to be up for that one in Indy. And then we'll be doing it after every game this week. And then I'll try to have guests for Tuesday and Thursday's shows. Wednesday and Friday's shows. So recording on Tuesday and Thursday. Been really slacking on the guests. It's on me, but we'll get it back and going. I promise. I have a list of people to reach out to. We're going to be rocking. So lots of fun stuff coming here on Locked On Pacers. We have an Instagram account now at Locked On Pacers. You can check that out. I'm on Twitter at Tony R. East and Blue Sky at Tony R. East. This podcast has a Twitter account at Tony R. East. That's the end of the social media stuff. Thank you guys so much for listening. Hope you're enjoying your March Madness. Let's watch some NBA tonight with Pacers Kings, and we'll talk about it tomorrow.